I will only tell the truth. I will only tell the truth. Truth.
What's up, y'all? Y'all know what time it is. It's Fire Friday. I'm Louis Dooley, and you see we back in the kitchen again. We back in the kitchen for another funky, fresh, fire meal that we're gonna be cooking off. Actually, today we're not gonna be cooking a meal. We actually gonna be cooking what I feel is the best and my most favorite thing to eat. You know what that is? Dessert. That's right, dessert. So today we actually whipping up a cheesecake. And so I know y'all thinking like, cheesecake, how you making a cheesecake and you locked up in prison? Well, I'm not actually locked up right now, but you know, we had a commissary. And in that commissary was a lot of items and a no-bake cheesecake. So it's a no-bake. It's not the kind that you got to put in the oven. And it's really good. As a matter of fact, it's better than good. It's fire. You know what I'm saying? It's a fire cheesecake. And so there is a little bit of a spin that we're going to put on it. So it's just like not like the normal or the average type of cheesecake. And so our ingredients, we pretty much follow what's on the box. It says you're going to need sugar. You're going to need butter. We had that squeezed butter that you can get, or every morning for breakfast, they give you a couple pats of butter for like your toast or oatmeal or grits or whatever. And you're not supposed to take that stuff out the kitchen, first and foremost. But, you know, some people did. I never was a guy that stole out the kitchen. But to be honest, like there were times when I did purchase items from people who did. And so I was really no better than the one that was stealing out of the kitchen. So let me preface all this by saying the ingredients I may mention that I talk about that will come from the kitchen, I didn't take them from the kitchen, but oftentimes myself or somebody else in the meal with me will have paid that guy some cigarettes, some tobacco, some ramen noodles, Little Debbie cakes, whatever stamps, whatever items he wanted for something. And again, like that was wrong. That was wrong. And, you know, it was a challenge and a battle for me throughout prison because I like to eat. And when you get those extra little ingredients like an onion or a bell pepper or brown sugar, things that you couldn't get, it just was like the little finishing touches on a meal that just made it way better than what you had to work with. And so that was a struggle, you know, not to partake in or participate with others that had that kind of stuff. And I failed many times, but just to be transparent with you, I did that and that was wrong. And I'm not an advocate for that. But today's ingredients all come from the commissary that we can use. So this will be a Jesus approved meal, if you will. And so we need sugar. And so they sold sugar cubes, like boxes of C&H cubes. And so we'd have to crush them sugar cubes up. And I wanted to make these videos and just be as authentic as I can and get sugar cubes and get the squeezed butter. And then I was like, you know what? I can just explain it to y'all and I'll use stuff that we got in our kitchen just so I ain't got to spend money to go buy other stuff. But you guys will get the point. And that's not the point anyway. The point is the finished product. And so we need sugar, we need butter. I got the good old real butter here, which I'm a real butter guy. I'm not really a margarine guy. And that's all we'll need. And so let's start off by opening our box up. We got the crust mix and we got the cheesecake mix. Another ingredient that it calls for is milk. Now, again, people could steal cartons of milk out the kitchen. Sometimes people that were diabetics or other type of dietary needs would get milks throughout the day in a bag. And so, you know, getting the milk from them wouldn't be that big a deal. They actually sold powdered milk in the commissary. Man, that stuff there was just gross. So if you're a powdered milk person, no offense to you, but I'm not a powdered milk guy. I'm really a whole milk. Don't even really like 2%. And that's the best we could get is 2%, which my wife and I, we oftentimes argue and fight about that because she's a 2% person. I'm a whole milk person. I don't like drinking water when I want to drink milk. But it calls for milk. We're going to use a secret ingredient today that's not milk, and I'm going to grab it out the fridge real quick. That ingredient that's going to make this thing fire, ice cream. That's right. Instead of milk, take an ice cream, a pint. So they sold pints of ice cream in the commissary, and we would buy it. My favorite was Tin Roof Sundae. Can't find it nowhere. But you let it thaw out and get kind of mushy, and then you just whip it up with the cheesecake mix. And so let's start off with this crust. And so we just take the crust, and this is real simple and quick. I'm sure some of you, if not most of you, have made these types of cheesecakes before. So you take that. It calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. The sugar, it helps great with helping that crust be a little sweet, but also stick together. So 2 tablespoons. You know, we didn't have tablespoons like this, you know, in prison. So we just kind of eyed it up. But again, I got a tablespoon, so I'm not eyeing it up. Then it needs butter. Well, obviously, putting some big, thick, chunky butter ain't gonna help none. So I'm gonna have to nuke it, put it in the microwave. And so actually, I forgot I should have used my tablespoon right here. Look, I'm going back old school, just using the spoon. And so you put 2 tablespoons. I'm gonna nuke this so it can get nice and wet, so it can absorb that graham cracker crust really well. And I'm gonna put a little bit more than what it calls for, because every time we make these crusts, man, that graham cracker crust is just so grainy. It don't want to work right. It don't want to stick. So I found that if you use a little bit of extra butter, whenever you melt that and put that in there, then it'll be it'll work a lot better for you. Cause that stuff there that had me so mad before, I didn't want to throw the whole thing out. So I'm gonna throw this in the microwave real quick. About a good 20 seconds should work. And so while that's nuking, I'm gonna take my bowl, I'm gonna kind of shake this up a little bit. I'm actually gonna go old school. Since I use this end and it's all buttery, I'm gonna use the handle. I wash my hands, and you ain't eating it no way, so you ain't gotta be tripping. But you just mix it up, get that sugar and that graham cracker crust mixed up real good in there. And as a matter of fact, it just dawned on me that actually I could use, whenever we're making the prison pizzas, like the piece I made last week, but this graham cracker crust is so like grainy and broken up so well, I might start buying cheesecake mixes to get the graham cracker out of there instead of just buying a box of graham crackers, because this stuff is already crushed up really good, and that'd be great for the crust on a prison pizza. But I'm gonna take my butter and just pour it all along. And as I said last week, and if you didn't see my video last week with the prison pizza, you can go back and watch that video. But I talked about in certain areas in the prison, there were microwaves. And so if you were in like an honor dorm, meaning that you didn't get a lot of violations or write-ups, you would get to certain house units that had different privileges than the other prison, and they would have microwaves. And so, you know, I would just get in line on the microwave to heat the butter up, or if we didn't have a microwave or the line was too long and when nobody let me butt in for like 20 seconds, then I'd boil some water and take another bowl with the butter in it and put it in the boiling water to melt it. So there's always a way to get things done if you really want to. And that's one of the things I learned in prison, is that people are really smart, and when there's a will, there's a way. And so I got this mixed up pretty good here now. And now this is where you get your hands dirty. Now, a lot of times in prison, you know, you got people cooking, and if you cooking for yourself or cooking for a few people that you kind of friends with, then it ain't no big deal to use your bare hands. But you could get like the little thin gloves they would use to serve in the kitchen. They even got hair nets and masks that you put on. So sometimes in the wing, you would see a dude making like 4 or 5 cheesecakes because they have dude having a birthday party, or it's Christmas, or dudes just going in for a holiday or just want to eat a big meal together, and somebody be making the cheesecakes, and you would see somebody in there with the hair net. They have the beard guard on, and they had the plastic gloves on. I don't have none of that because I'm at the crib now, and I'm actually making this for me. And I'm actually got a couple buddies. We do a happy hour at my friend's place not too far from here. And I'm gonna take this cheesecake there tonight, and I'm gonna give it to them people and let them try it out. But you wanna take the crust, you wanna press it down. And I mean, this is all basic for anybody who's ever made a cheesecake. But the idea that makes this difficult is you don't just press it down and flat. I mean, I guess you could, but your crust will be like that thick. You have to like bring it up to the edges. And if I was using a pie dish, it would make it so much easier because it's kind of slanted on the edges that you can kind of make it come up. These edges are slanted a little bit, but when they're more straight, that crust just wants to tumble down in there. And so it's a challenge trying to get that crust to stay up top. And so, you know, I guess I'm hard-headed or I'm not really that smart. But we didn't have that type of stuff in prison, pie dishes and stuff. We just had bowls. And so we used to have to try to get this thing to like kind of creep up the side of the bowl a little bit. And then you got to like not make any like loose spots at the bottom because you pushed all the graham cracker this way and there's very little there and it ain't none at the bottom. So it is kind of a science or maybe an art to doing this. And I haven't made one of these in years, but it's not that hard. It's not rocket science. You want to watch your corners because the graham cracker can really bunch up really thick in the corners of the bowl. And so that's where you can like work with it and push down in it a little deeper to kind of get the crust to crawl up the side of the bowl a little bit. I know y'all probably can't see that good. I'm just running one camera. I don't have another camera for B-roll just because I'm not a videographer. I'm trying to become something, learning how to use this stuff. Thank God I got some friends, Christian brothers who've been in this industry for years that's been kind of mentoring me and helping me learn how to use cameras and the camera part nowhere near as hard as the editing. That's where I'm about to pull my hair out, messing with the editing and stuff like that. So, okay, I'm gonna quit messing with it because the more you mess with it, the more it's gonna start collapsing. So I'm gonna push this to the side and let it set real quick. Then I'm gonna take my other bowl here and I'm gonna put my cheesecake mix in. So put the cheesecake mix in like that. And then normally the recipe would call for 1.5 cups of milk, 1.5 cups. And so what I'm using is 1 pint. Here's a test for you. How many cups are in a pint? I don't know the answer to that. I just thought of that right now off the top. So this is a brookie dough ice cream, vanilla flavored and chocolate ice cream with fudge brownies and chocolate chip cookie dough. That sounds amazing. So it's already thawed out. So I'm gonna pour this in here. I'm gonna get all of it that I can get in there. This cheesecake here gonna be so fire, it's gonna be ridiculous. So I'm gonna get as much of that ice cream, and you know, back in the day, like you don't waste nothing. So I'll be in here scraping on that bowl, licking the inside of it and everything, right? I'm the person, I lick the inside of the tater chip bag when I get done. So, you know, if you wanna judge me, then go right ahead. I've been called a lot worse things and judged for a lot of worse things. So once you get that in there, if you can probably see like the consistency of this is pretty juicy. You know, it's thicker than milk, but it's very watery, if you will. And so now the part is just mixing this in. And so now you see the cheesecake has turned like a chocolate. So this is gonna be like a chocolate chip brookie dough cheesecake. And I'm gonna add something else for all you chocolate lovers. I'm gonna add another ingredient. Now, a lot of times when we make the cheesecake, sometimes we'll put different toppings on it. And when I say toppings, I mean it ranges from crushed up cookies to we'll take like the candy bars like a Snicker or a Twix or Milky Way and put that on ice and let it get hard. And then you bust it up into pieces. You can sprinkle that on the top. Or if you're more of a mint guy, they sold bags of peppermints and you can bust up some peppermints and drop a few little peppermint pieces in there for like a peppermint cheesecake. I'm not a peppermint guy. If you ever invite me over to your house or somewhere and you're gonna have dessert and you got like mint chocolate chip ice cream or something like that for dessert, you know, I'm not gonna be rude, but I'm gonna politely decline because I'm not a mint, thin mint, peppermint patty. I don't really like the mint flavor. And so I got this mixed up pretty good, but I'm gonna add an ingredient on the inside because you could also add stuff on the inside. I mean, guys have taken Hershey bars and you melt those. And like, as you're pouring the cheesecake in, you kind of drizzle some melted Hershey. So now you got like a Hershey chocolate swirl on the inside, or then drizzle a little bit on the top, or guys drizzle like happy birthday or whatever, right? Very, very creative. What I'm gonna do is, for my creativity for us today, is one of my favorite candies, M&Ms. And you see the bag is green and red, so this was left over from Christmas. It's just July, so they still should be good, right? M&Ms will never go bad, right? So I'm gonna take like a handful of M&Ms and I'm just gonna drop them in there. And I'll drop a few in my mouth too. Forgive me if my crunching is in your ear. Just turn the volume down a little bit. So I'm gonna mix some of these M&Ms in here. As a matter of fact, I need a little bit more. All right, that should do it. That's probably about a half a pack of plain M&Ms. Peanut is my favorite. And I got some peanut M&Ms, but I ain't finna waste them in this cheesecake. But I put the plain ones in there. They were actually a gift. And it's a big old bag, and I've been trying to stay off of candy and stuff like that anyway. But, you know, it is what it is. So now, what you do is, you take this and this is the hope. This is the hope that your crust, that the edges are high enough that it can hold the filling. I'm not feeling too good about that right now. I see a few places that look kind of low, but you know, it is what it is. And it's like mine, right? I ain't making it for like somebody important. So I'm gonna pour that in there, and you don't have to use, it ain't. You don't have to use all of this, you know, in there if you don't want to. You could actually eat it if you want. I've never done that. It's really rich, you know, to just eat it. I don't know, but I'm close. I'm not too bad. Let me get all that good goo out of there, that good cheese, chocolate, brookie dough, cookie dough goodness out of there. Oh man, that's fire. That's for real fire right there, y'all. I wish you could taste that. If you live around Chicagoland area, you want to holler at your boy and get together sometime, subscribe to my channel. Shoot me a message on there. Shoot me a message on Facebook. If you got my number, shoot me a text, give me a call and say, man, hook me up. I'll hook a brother or a sister up in a minute. I will say this though, you need to bring the ingredients with you, because brother ain't got it like that. You dig? This ain't a lot, but you want brother to hook you up, I'll put in the work. You just show up with the groceries and a beautiful thing will happen, and we'll have some fire to eat. So, you know, a lot of people fought for the spoon. You remember when you was a little kid and your mama be making some cookies or a cake or a pie or something like that, and you want the bowl, you want the spoon. Dudes ain't no different in the joint. If I was right here at this point, this bowl would be clean right now. Not because somebody took a towel and some water and soap. It'd be clean and dry because they been licked it all out of there. And so, that's some good stuff right there. So now, it's a cheesecake is in there, but you can't cut this bad boy and eat it. Now the ingredients calls for you to put it in the refrigerator for an hour. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, even though we had a good commissary and we had a pretty decent amount of amenities and things that we can use to cook and do different things, we didn't have a refrigerator. You know, we didn't have like a real refrigerator, but again, we made our own refrigerator. And so they used to sell us little like 6-pack igloo coolers. You know, you push the button and you slide it. Or then they start selling those like box ones where you just flip the lid up. And so those were kind of small, and you really couldn't fit this. You could fit this bowl in here, but you couldn't get much ice in there to put around it. So we would get a 5-gallon bucket, or we had a trash can. Now, if you had a good trash can, and like our trash can, we used to use to wash clothes in. We didn't even put trash in it. We had got a brand new one, me and one of my cellies, and we would wash our clothes in there. So we would run hot water in there, put some soap in there, you know, because sending your stuff to laundry sometime, it come back dirtier than when you sent it. So we wash clothes. Like, as a matter of fact, I had this exact shirt on I got now. I bought this when I was in prison, like in 2003. And then I sent it home to my wife, and now I'm wearing it again. So this old classic throwback right here, the FUBU brand. But I would wash this in the trash can. Some people wash their stuff in the toilet. They clean the toilet real good. Some people even wash their hair in the toilet. I never went that far, but people use what they got to do what they want to do, right? And so we would fill a 5-gallon bucket up, or if you had a good trash can, fill it up about maybe this much with ice. Then you throw this bowl on top, you put the lid on it, and then you put a whole bunch more ice on top. And then what you would do most of the time, if we made a cheesecake, then what we would do is we would also be having a meal. So this would be like our dessert to kind of top off whatever meal we made. And so we would throw sodas in there too. And then we'd throw more ice on top. So we'd have this bucket of this trash can full of ice with a cheesecake, with soda, and whatever else we wanted to keep cold, we'd throw it in there for the day. And so I'm gonna throw this in the refrigerator so it can start hardening up. Maybe now's the time if you want to take a bathroom break, or maybe you want to go grab a snack because you're kind of hungry after watching me doing all this throwing together. But in the movie type world, in the video world, there's this thing called magic. And voila, that's what we got. We got magic. Guess what we got? We got that cheesecake didn't take long to set. Oh, wait a minute. And it changed colors. It ain't brown no more, it's yellow like cheesecake. Well, just from watching cooking shows and stuff a few times, they always got a finished product while they walk you through how they got there. Well, duh, that's what I've done. So this cheesecake actually is a cherry cheesecake, which used to be my most favorite dessert in the whole world, but I've had it so much, I just kind of decided I'm tired of cherry cheesecake. But anyway, I bought this just to be different. They didn't sell cherry cheesecakes in prison that I was at. They just sold these regular no-bake ones. But people would have like raspberry like jam, and they put raspberry on the top, or, dudes be creative. You can put whatever you want to put on there. That's the bottom line. And so, the commissary, as I talked about it, was a great thing if you had money, because you got a chance to buy these items. And one of the things I want to spend a minute talking about is a lot of people have this misconception. Now, I can only speak from my experience. So when I'm talking about prison, I'm not representing every prison that's in the United States. I'm just really speaking to the couple prisons I was in that was in the state of Missouri. Our commissary funded the things that we got to do and partake in and have. So for instance, there was always this idea that taxpayers' dollars paid for cable TV for prisoners, and that's just wrong. Maybe some states that's the case. In Missouri, it's not the case. Basically, the prison had a commissary. That commissary had a manager, a person from the outside, and the prison had a relationship with a vendor that had all these items. And they would put together a list for that prison. The prison I was in for 13 years, Potosi Correctional Center, houses death row inmates. And they're in general population. So I've had cellmates on death row, good friends executed, the whole nine. Well, they decided at that prison they wanted to have a very robust commissary because the guys either had the death penalty, or they had life without parole, or they had so many years that they was gonna spend most of their life there. And that's why I was there, because I had 2 lives and 100 years. And so didn't look like I was ever gonna get out, or I'll be like in my 80s or 90s when I got out. And so they offered a lot of variety of items. And so that's why like a cheesecake's a luxury item. We had boxes of banquet chicken that was pre-cooked. You can just throw it in the microwave or throw it in the crock pot and, heat it up. That was a luxury. We had Polar sausage. We had packs of tuna, packs of barbecue beef, and different things like that. So these were luxury items, and those items were marked up about 20%. So whatever the commissary, the prison paid for them from the vendor, they mark it up 20%. That 20% markup paid for the cable. It paid for basketballs. It paid for weightlifting equipment. It paid for magazine subscriptions in the library. It paid for books that the library would order so people could read. And so this is how all these things were funded in the prisons in Missouri. I don't know about other states, so taxpayers' dollars aren't paying for it. And really who's paying is the family and loved ones that's sending the prisoners money. That's really who's paying for it. Then the jobs within the prison that you could make, then you would even be supporting your own livelihood, or supporting your own community that you live in by paying into these things because you're buying commissary. And so, it was God's grace. I believe it was really God's grace, that allowed me to be where I was and to have the experience that I had. And, grace is one of those things where a lot of people don't really understand grace. Grace is really something that you get that you don't deserve. I didn't deserve to really get out of prison when I did, that's for sure. Really don't deserve to even know Jesus in light of the things I've done in life because of my sin and the people I've hurt. I don't deserve to be in this house I'm in, to be in this kitchen I'm in, to even have this camera and to be able to do a video and try to have fun and talk about stuff we did in prison, but also to talk about Jesus. And so Jesus offers everybody grace. It's a free gift. And the grace that God gave us came in the form of a man named Jesus. God gave us Jesus, who mankind did not deserve. What we as humans deserve because of our sin is eternal separation from God. We deserve death, but God's grace trumps that. God's grace trumps that for everyone who chooses to put their faith and trust in Jesus. And that's a great thing, and a lot of people don't take advantage of the grace of God, and many people take advantage of the grace of God, if you know what I mean. Like they're going around living their lives like they want to, calling themselves Christ followers, when really Christ is not in them no more than he is in the man in the moon. And so, cheap grace, as they call it, is just that it's cheap, and that's not God's grace. The price that Jesus paid was not cheap. He paid his life. He shed his blood. That's the most intimate thing someone can do for someone, is to give their life for them, not, to sacrifice their all and everything, their whole body. And that's what Jesus did. And another word that comes to mind when I think about grace is mercy. And a lot of times people lump those two together, and they kind of play together hand in hand, but they're also different. Grace is getting something you don't deserve, and mercy is not getting something that you do deserve. Like if you go outside when you're a kid and your parents say, don't go outside, and you come in the house and they say, you know what, we should ground you for a week because we told you 5 times not to go outside and you went. But we're going to give you another chance. We're not going to punish you this time. That is mercy. That child deserves a punishment because it disobeyed the rule that the parent has. But the parent says, you know what, I'm going to spare you. I'm going to be merciful to you and not give you what you do deserve. And that's what God does by giving us Jesus. We're people who don't deserve Jesus, right? We deserve death. So God gives us his grace. He sheds his mercy upon us, not giving us something that we do deserve when we choose to put our faith and trust in Jesus. And so it's by God's grace that I'm able to be here. I appreciate you guys tuning in to this. And I just wanted to share that moment with you as I was thinking about doing this video and thinking about, I want to talk about Jesus and I want to talk about something in the word of God, and it just made me think about God's grace. Ephesians 2:8-9 says we are saved by grace, not of ourselves, right? It's a gift of God, lest any man should boast. If it's something that we did, then we can boast about doing it. But God sent Jesus. Jesus died. How can we boast about that? We'd be a fool to boast about something someone else did because we had nothing to do with it. And so the grace of God is awesome. If you're not familiar with Ephesians 2:8-9, I encourage you to look that up and spend some time meditating on that. And so, we're done with the cheesecake. I'm going to go ahead and bust this filling open. You might want to use scissors. Matter of fact, I might want to use scissors because I could just see myself like squirting this stuff all over me. So I'm going to cut this bad boy open. Try not to cut myself. And then I'm just going to squirt. I'm going to squirt it on top. This has got real cherries in it too, y'all. So this ain't no like little cheap cherry like taste. You're going to bite into some real, well, not you, but whoever eats it, they're going to bite into some real cherry. So I'm going to squirt this cherry stuff on here, all this goo, and get all the cherry goodness out. And we got ourselves a cheesecake. We got ourselves a cheesecake. Rinse this spoon off real quick. Kind of spread this goo around. Now, that, my friends, is a prison no-bake cherry cheesecake. And this one has salted caramel and fudge ice cream in it. So, man, it's fire too. So thank you guys so much for joining me, for checking this out. If you find value in this, if it was entertaining, or if there was some spiritual moment in it, share it with other people. Let them experience it too. You can subscribe to my channel. Every Friday I try to come out with a video, Fire Friday. And shoot me a message. You can shoot a message, a comment on there. Shoot me a message, let me know. Give me some feedback. Is it good? Is it bad? Does not look that good? You need to see clear. Like let a brother know what's up. And I'm trying to do this at a high level, as high as I can get. So your feedback and encouragement will really go a long way. So thank you guys so much. That's fire.